70 partout.
All right. With all that out of the way, let's get into
Uh, yeah.
let's get into
Let's
it.
get in the muck. Let's get in the muck.
Yeah, let's get into the nonsense. So well, I mean, we teased it a bit in the beginning, and it was actually Robert who wanted to talk about this because he because he was hearing things in the news, and then he was reminded of that scene in the first Matrix where they had just after they had just seen the Oracle and they're about to exit the Matrix when they're climbing the staircase and then Neo sees this cat that goes by, and then all of a sudden the same cat uh, passes by um, again, and he he shouts out like, "Oh man, deja vu!" And then all all the other members with him, they kind of like freak out a bit, like, what was that? So yeah,
All hell
deja
breaks
vu.
loose.
I saw this cat, and and it went by me. It felt like I seen it before. It's like, are you sure? Was it the same cat? It's like, yeah, probably.
And that's exactly how I feel about the news cycle this past week or so. It feels like it's the same news stories but with different casts of characters
Right.
in different parts of the country.
Yeah. I don't know if I said it at the beginning of the show or if it was like behind this backstage. But yeah, they're like crappy. They're like crappy Hollywood remakes of movies. It's just same story but different. Just cast differently.
Yeah. So one of the popular ones was the story in Georgia. I don't know if she's not like a congressperson, but she's like a legislator for the state or something like that. So she might she does something
Right.
in Georgia.
Not like a congressional representative, but a state representative, I believe.
Yeah, so I think that's her title. I would need to look at her page or whatever to see exactly what her job title is.
Mm-hmm.
I think her name is Erica Thomas, and what we first hear is her this because and we have to remember this comes after Trump's tweets concerning the Suicide Squad of crazies.
I like that.
Uh, and and so everyone's like, oh, Trump's racist and all this, wah wah wah, and so I don't know what comes into these lefties' minds, but it's like why ruin a good why waste a good tragedy with the truth, right? So let's make it a story. And so Erica Thomas, she does this, I don't know if it was Facebook Live or Twitter Live, whatever, I don't know, whatever social media platform she was doing it on.
Some sort of live streaming.
Some sort of live stream about oh yeah, there was this man, it was so bad, and he was a white man and said you should go back to where you came from, blah blah. It's and obviously the optics look pretty terrible, right? But then when you listen, if you're instead of listening to the tears and the emotion, if you actually listen to what she's saying, and I'm like, this sounds kind of familiar. As to not well, obviously it sounds familiar because it's wow, the words are almost word for word kind of what the supposed racist connotations of what Trump said, but then it also felt like none of it sounded very true. It sounded fake, and lo and behold, that's exactly what it was.
Right. It's funny because I was actually thinking because when you texted me that you want to talk about this, I was thinking about I've seen the video of her like doing the live streams. Like she's like, and then he told me to go back where I came from. And I was like, and
I laughed because I was like, "This is ridiculous. This is false. This
no,
did
no, no,
not
exactly.
happen."
I'm coming to my point, and it's funny because I started thinking about the sound of lies. Just and like there's actually, and I think that there's actually a frequency of when people lied, like because and then I was reminded okay, I'm gonna reference the game Mafia again, but there's one girl I know, and whenever whenever she's a Mafia, and you ask her, it's like, oh, are you Mafia? It's like, no, of course not, I'm not the Mafia. You know,
Yeah, they have a tell.
yeah, but then there's a frequency to lies, and like and every time that she always has, she like whenever like she's a Mafia and you accuse her of something, it always goes like this like higher pitch. She goes, no, I'm not. It's like, no. Instead of saying no, I'm not Mafia, it's like, no, and it always goes up.
Yeah. No, with a
Yeah.
question mark at the end, of course.
So and like hearing Erica Thomas doing this live stream and recounting uh, her harrowing tale, it's, I mean, to my ears, you could clearly tell that she's making this up. And
Well, here's another thing.
I'm sorry.
Well, I would say, well, here's another thing that liars do is they constantly change their story, like, but not maybe not like completely, but every so slightly, like every time they tell a story, something is either changed a little bit or something's become more embellished, and that's exactly what happened in this case too.
Right, and and then it comes out that her supposed assailant is a down the line a Democrat voter.
And he's
Like
not
they
white;
even
he's
do like this
Cuban.
like impromptu joint press conference, and it's like, oh, what are you talking about? I'm a Democrat. I'm a Democrat for life. I'm gonna Democrat to the day I die. So it's like
Well, she kept.
you can't claim like evil Trump supporter.
Well, here's the other thing too is like because she says, like, "Oh, this horrible white man said all this stuff," which is completely false, and because he confronted her, he is like, because it's like you're not going to use me for your political gains, and he called her out on it, and he's like,
Right.
and she kept calling him this like horrible racist white man. It's like, no, I'm not white. I'm Cuban, you idiot. Like
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm
That
a
was that.
Democrat,
Yeah.
and it's like, and it's like I didn't say this stuff, and I'm not going to let you use me for political gain. And the other thing about that too was there's been more stuff that's been revealed throughout the week as I've been listening to this story. Is that not only did her story kept changing, this guy confronted her because and obviously if it was true, he would just hid in the background, probably would just like would have stayed in his basement and just not come out. More than likely, not only did he defend himself, which is I'm glad he did,
Mm-hmm.
but two, you had other people that were there at the store that are like and it wasn't just one person; it was several people that came and contested her story, and with obviously there's no audio, but the the store security cameras tell a very different tale. That she was the one that actually was the one that was berating him, not the other way around. She's
Right.
a
Yeah.
liar. This is
Yeah.
what
Because
liars
I mean,
do.
for those of you unaware, like his confrontation, of Erica Thomas was over the fact that she had more than 10 items in the 10 items or less line.
And that's a pain
And
in the ass, let me tell you.
he even like went to the store employees and it's like, hey, aren't you going to enforce this, this policy that your store has? And they're like, oh yeah, they tell us, and like the employees even said like, oh yeah, they tell us not, not to say anything. And I mean, this guy could, we could be homies, but he felt like this, indignation, at the fact that she was like thumbing her nose at this policy, and he was like saying like, yeah, I only confronted her, for basic decency, it's like, if the sign says 10 items or less, you should have only 10 items or less, and that was the whole reason why he went to go confront her, and then yeah, and then the video shows that she was actually the one like getting up in his face, and it was, and in the live stream video, she was saying like, oh, her daughter was traumatized, but then you see in the video, you could see the daughter was laughing her head off at this thing, at this scene, obviously indicating that her mom does this a lot.
There, it kind of reminds me of like this is what the leftists and all these people do is, there's a scene in The Simpsons, Simpsons reference coming up. It was the episode called Realty Bites, where Marge becomes a realtor, and uh, she is compelled. She wants to tell the truth, and like she feels like she doesn't want to lie about like these houses not being all that great. And Lionel Hutz is the lead realtor, and he says, "Now Mars, there's the truth, and the truth," and that's leftist ideology. Is like they're always telling you the truth. It's and they have to lie and manipulate these situations for their own gain. It sickens me.
Right, yeah, and yeah, and her I don't know, her justification for breaking the store's policy, the breaking the 10 items or less policy was, oh well, I'm pregnant, and so I can't stand on my feet for very long. But if you see the footage, it didn't seem like there were that many people in line, or that many people within the store. But then also to contradict herself even further, she then proceeds to have like a 30-minute press conference, with the press, and she's standing
Yeah,
the entire time. So it's like, okay, you can't stand for long periods of time, but but you can endure for a 30-minute press conference.
yeah. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous, Andy. I oh my gosh. Like I said, this is Jussie Smollett 2.0.
Right? Yeah. Just Small 2.0. I'm surprised like she didn't. I don't know, like what could she have? Uh, I'm surprised like she didn't have like the conveyor belt, like divide one of the conveyor belt dividers with her the whole time. Kind of the way that like Jesse Smollett like still had the noose around his neck when the cops came to talk to him.
Yeah. Oh. Do you want to take that off? Like, oh, God, yes.
So, yeah, I just wanted you to see
Horseshit.
it.
Yeah, right. Fucking horseshit. Oh my God. Uh, well, and part of me thinks like I think the guy uh probably wanted to defend his name a little bit and not be used as a political stuntman.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what was like to him what was the worst, like the worst. Like I don't want to be like labeled some racist Trump supporter, or like or do I or was it like being because he's a Democrat, so he's like, I don't want to be labeled a racist Trump supporter, or is it like I don't want this woman using me as a political puppet? It's like which one was worse to him? I'm kind
I
of
know,
curious
right? You kind
about
of have
that.
to wonder.
But either way, like, I'm glad he stuck up for himself and doesn't let this lady, just get away with her lies.
Right.
And it's like
Exactly.
the left is imploding in on itself on a
Hmm.
daily basis.
Yeah, it really is.
Oh, what was the there was something else that was kind of a deja vu story that I mentioned to you, and I'm drawing a blank at the moment.
Let me look up the text you sent me. Cause yeah, 'cause I remember you did say that there are two things. Uh, hmm.
Yeah, because there was this hate hoax story once again, but there was something else too that kind of sparked my memory. That's like, wow, it's
Oh
happening again.
shoot! I kept looking at the wrong place. Okay. Oh, and the Mueller report.
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah. How can we forget the Mueller report? Um, so not only have we, for me, I've been done with this story because it's like, okay, it was nothing. Nothing came of this story. Well, for me, nothing new came of this story. It's like uh, it's pretty much like, yeah, Trump didn't collude with Russia. Actually, reality, it's the story behind that is it's definitely the left was the one that was probably conspiring with Russia, but that's a whole nother tale. And it's like, oh, there's all this controversy. Oh, now that the Mueller report, it didn't make our dreams come true that Trump was a
Yeah,
Vladimir
playing
Putin's
footsie with
cockholster.
Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, he wasn't his cockholster, and as Stephen Colbert so lovingly put it, and but so he was called, I think, by the I don't know who ended up kind of calling him to this Senate committee or whatever, and so he testifies concerning it, and my God, he not only did it make the whole, like, it's like it's obvious now that the whole Mueller report was just nothing. But he made the Democrats look so bad. I felt, and it just it felt so good. And it's like it was the Mueller report 2.0 that, like, it puts that last nail in the coffin. It's like, this is nothing. Of course, they're gonna like quadruple and quintuple down on this
Hmm.
thing again. Um, but the guy did not clearly didn't write the report because he has no idea what the hell is going on. He was kind of like this Abe Simpsons where he looked old and confused and, why would you say
Yeah,
there,
I
son?
mean, yeah,
Like,
there's. I
here's
mean,
the question.
I didn't watch the hearing live, but I saw like some clips, and it's you at a certain point you just kind of feel bad for the old guy. It's like this old man is being like beaten down for doing for just doing the job that he was asked to do. Even I mean, whether he was somewhat complicit in trying to find actual evidence against the president or not. But just like the beat down that he got from the Democrats just was like, man, just leave the guy alone.
Well, here's the thing that, like, kind of, it's because he was asked about, like, okay, well, he clearly didn't. He seemingly, like, couldn't remember, didn't know what Fusion GPS or the Steele dossier. He didn't understand any of what that was about. And it's like, that's the whole point of, like, figuring out, like, the origins of where the hell all this stuff came from, and yet you don't know any of this. You don't know these terms. It's not a gotcha question. It's a basic question, yet you don't know the basics of what the hell, like, this whole investigation was supposed to be about. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, well, this is before I was, really, like, involved with the investigation. And it's like, yet, okay, fine. but then you found all these other people that, quote unquote, oh, they, perjured themselves, which was complete horseshit. But that happened before all this started. So, but you had no trouble like throwing them in prison or trying to get them to flip. So
Yeah, constantly like bringing
which
them
is it?
in, interviewing them,
And so
applying
it's
the pressure, as it were. But
right,
yeah,
and
after like
it's
2 years,
all
like nothing.
it
And like
stinks
the
to high
idea
heaven.
that it was his job to, uh, what is it? Then kind of go after Trump or something. When his job was
All
merely
the
to investigate. It was up to it, if there was a shred of evidence linking the president and Russia together, then it would then fall upon the Congress to then press charges and to then begin uh, impeachment proceedings.
right. The whole thing sinks to high heaven, and it just, I don't know. I have a little bit of Schadenfreude. Yeah, this whole situation, like anything that makes these people look terrible because they're all terrible people, I'm fine with, and
Tastes good, doesn't it, Robert?
it feels great. I mean, like I
It's
said,
just delicious, isn't it? Just
and
delicious.
it just, I love seeing these people make themselves look terrible on a daily basis. Seeing them being caught in their lies and deception, and I'm so tired of the media deception, and it goes back to kind of like the thing we were talking about with the whole McCarthy thing. Is there's been so much stuff in history that we've been lied to about with all this revisionist bullshit. The media lies to us on a daily basis. There's so much shit that goes on, and obviously, like to a certain extent, obviously, there's probably things that we shouldn't know about, because obviously there has to be some sort of secrecy in some things. I get that,
Hmm.
but just I'm tired of it. I hate liars. I hate it.